Connected? Good morning, class. Online students must be waiting. Am I audible? Any issues of visibility? Yes, Pallaveen, the class has started now. Yes, so students, in the last class, I gave you some tasks. Let's first discuss that. I asked you to solve this test 1. You have got the answers. These questions were based on main idea. So some 26 questions were given. 26 questions. Done? There is an eerie silence. Right? So some emphatic yes. Rest. Online students, done this test? देखो RC में it's very important that you continue with the backup. As you know that there is very little theory. So at the end of the day, it comes to the practice part. And if there is any loophole, any, shortcomings in terms of the backup, then there would be problems. So I want you to just follow this backup regime very, very strictly. So test 1 should have been done by now. And in today's class, if I find time, in case you have doubts, we will address them. How many students have doubts? Those who have done it? 1, 2, 3, 3. And so in how many questions you have doubts? 3 questions. And so, and you? 4. 3 questions, right? So it means you got rest of the answers correct. 26 में आपने 23 तो correct कर दिए. 23, 22. After this, and then I told you another task. I asked you to complete the remaining questions of the last class. Remaining questions from exercise, and these remaining questions were of corollary and implication. Done? From this booklet. Any doubts there? The answers are given at the back. From this booklet, the corollary and the implications questions, we could not finish the entire thing. A couple of questions were left. I asked you to try them. तो एक काम तो आपने ये करना था, ठीक है? These questions needs to be done. And similarly, the remaining questions of inferences. Inference questions, all were not done from the booklet. A few were left. I asked you to complete the rest of the questions. Right? So now, honestly speaking, how many of you have not done anything? This entire. Very brave of you. 3. And what about others? How many of you have done some part and just partly done? There's a majority which is partly done. And those who have done entire thing, 100%, you did everything. Doubts are there, it's okay. Doubts will arise once you try to solve the question. So this is very important to have doubts, तो दो ही केस में डाउट नहीं होगा, या तो आपको 100% सब क्लियर है, या तो आपने कुछ किया ही नहीं. So there won't be any doubts. So folks, so today's class, should I start it from the new topic, or should I start with the pending discussion or doubts? New topic, because you have not done anything. ये diplomatic कम है, political ज़्यादा है आपका answer. Fine. So all the doubts. So first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I will discuss a new topic because it is the beginning of the class. I just ask you, try to be a bit democratic, because the discussion can be followed up. So it's better idea to start a new thing. But before starting a new topic, let me give you a couple of questions. And these questions are going to evaluate your understanding of inferences, your understanding of main idea. When you read a statement, you are supposed to identify its main point, its argument. And as you know, that not everything given in the passage represents the main point. There is something that author has written and tried to prove, and then we have some points which the author has written just to support the point, the main point, right? So there are two elements present in a paragraph. अब आते हैं इस sheet पे. This is passage number 1 given in your booklet on page number 17. If you're not carrying the booklet, no issues, you can follow the paragraph from here, but please understand what you are going to do. We have discussed, class, that whatever is the author's main point, we call that argument of the author. Argument of the author. While writing his argument, the author, there are two components generally present in a paragraph. So the arguments have two components. What are these two components? I have discussed it earlier, but just a repetition of the same point. Arguments are all such paragraphs are called argument where the author tries to prove a point. He wants to establish a point, and then he also gives some base for this. So in just a layman's language, I am writing here base. Base means justification for this point. Suppose an author says that this particular policy announced by the RBI won't be successful because, after because he will give you the base. So what is the point? Point is that this policy won't be successful. That is the main point. And then the author tries to prove that main point, why it won't be successful. After because he says that because of the prevalent economic conditions, political conditions, kind of things, right? You read. So now this particular paragraph or writing is called an argument, and the main point of the author that he tries to establish is called conclusion. Right? However, this conclusion may not be written in an ideal way. So please don't bring your assumption that wherever the conclusion will be written, the author will always say hence, so, therefore. I mean, the indicators will be there. May not be there. It may be there. Right? So ultimate thing is that you have to apply your comprehension skill to identify that conclusion. Conclusion is the main point. It's clear to everyone. Now this base, we call it as a premise, or we can also call it as a fact. So the facts or the data are used to justify the main point, to establish the main point, and we call it premise. Okay? So there are two elements in an argument. If these elements are not present, this paragraph may not be an argument. It's not in persuasive style. It may be a descriptive. It may be narrative, right? It may be expository. So here is a paragraph. Suppose the both points are clear to everyone. Here is a paragraph. I want you to identify which sentence is the main point that author tries to prove, the conclusion, on page number 17. Yes, Jyoti, Akriti, everybody, the doubts will be discussed after some time. This para, which sentence seems to be the author's conclusion, yani the main point? Yes, please. Before you take a gulp. ऐसा क्वेश्चन नहीं कि आपको पानी पिला दे, लेकिन आपने पी लिया है तो बता दीजिए क्या विच सेंटेंस यू फील एज अ पॉइंट. यस अबे, विच सेंटेंस? He's saying for this reason, ये वाला sentence. Do you agree? Is there anyone who doesn't agree? Has some other opinion? देखो बहुत साइलेंट रहना ठीक नहीं है ना, बोला करिए फटाक से यस नो, सो दैट इट लुक्स लाइक कि हाँ ठीक है सब। आप फिर एनालाइज कर रहे हैं, ओवर एनालिसिस में क्यों जा रहे हैं? दिस इज समथिंग विच नीड्स वन सिंगल रीडिंग, है ना? इफ यू कीप रिपीटिंग देन यू आर ओनली गोइंग टू क्रिएट सेल्फ डाउट्स। ओवर एनालिसिस में आरसी में कभी ज्यादा नहीं जाएंगे। आई टोल्ड यू, once you have read a question and you find that one option makes sense, and then you start confusing yourself by over analyzing, and then you get confused between two options. Finally you get the answer कि आपको लगता है हाँ पहले ही वाला जो आपने डाउट था वही आपको जो पहले चूज किया था वही सही निकला। तो ट्राई टू हैव क्लैरिटी, राइट? अब इस पैसेज को आप पढ़ते हैं और विद दिस अंडरस्टैंडिंग, मेन आइडिया में मैंने आपको क्या बोला था, व्हेन यू स्टार्ट रीडिंग and when you try to find out the author's main point, always have this question on mind. Question है, what does the author want to convey? सिंपल ये क्वेश्चन लेकर के आप पढ़ना स्टार्ट करिए, यू विल कम टू रियलाइज कि यस ये पॉइंट है, दिस सेंटेंस इज द आंसर। व्हाट डज द ऑथर वांट टू कन्वे? क्या बोलना चाहता है, कन्वे क्या करना चाहता है? तो क्या वो ये करना चाहता है कि फ्री मार्केट प्लेस ऑफ आइडियाज इंश्योर दैट ऑल आइडियाज गेट अ फेयर हियरिंग? दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ इंट्रोडक्शन, जनरल स्टेटमेंट, ठीक है? अगर यही मेन पॉइंट है दैट ही वांट्स टू प्रूव, देन ही विल कंटिन्यू ऑन द सेम ट्रैक बिकॉज दिस इज द मेन पॉइंट, तो एवरीथिंग विल रिवॉल्व अराउंड इट, है ना? बट वो कहता है इवन आइडियाज टेंटेड विद प्रेजुडिस एंड मैलिस कैन प्रॉम्प्ट बेनिफिशियल आउटकम्स। चलो आई वुड से कि यस, दिस सेकंड सेंटेंस इज अ काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेंथनिंग दिस फर्स्ट सेंटेंस, राइट? कि इवन आइडियाज विद सम मैलिस, प्रेजुडिस, नेगेटिव वाले भी, उनका भी बेनिफिशियल आउटकम है। इसका मतलब इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, free marketplace of ideas is very important, that even negative ones also have beneficial outcomes या positive outcomes. Then he says in most countries, फिर वो change क्यों कर गया track? This is the main point, because now he's telling us in most countries what is the case. Government is responsible for over half of the information released to the public through all media. Government is holding it, monopoly of the government, and so he says for this reason the power of governments over information needs to be curtailed. Why it should be curtailed? Because free marketplace of ideas is very important, and because in most countries the government is controlling it. So the author says their power, their control needs to be curtailed. Curtailed is cut down. तो आपको पता है यस यहाँ एक शार्पनेस है, दिस इज द पॉइंट दैट ही वांट्स टू, दैट्स व्हाई फॉर दिस रीजन, इसका मतलब जो प्रीवियस है वो रीजन है, तो दिस इज द जस्टिफिकेशन, दिस इज द पॉइंट, द असर्शन, conclusion. Now he gives you another premise. Premise is the base, another justification. Everyone grants that government should not suppress free expression, yet government continue to construct. Now you find that it is a kind of elaboration for his point. So the underlined sentence is the main point. तो कभी मेन पॉइंट पढ़ेंगे तो क्वेश्चन होगा व्हाट डज द ऑथर वांट टू कन्वे, एंड देन यू विल स्टार्ट रीडिंग, राइट? तो दिस इज एन आर्ग्यूमेंट, यस, it has this main point, yes, and what are the premises? The premises are these: most countries this is happening, and then this why, and everyone grants that ki no, government should not control, yes, yet government controls it, right? So you have to be careful. yahan ek word hai dissemination. Dissemination is a very common word and most of you must be aware of this. iska matlab hota hai spread. So media control, information being controlled. Now, nobody should miss passage 2. Should not miss this one. Which sentence? You have a minute. Very good, Isha. Isha, you all gave the correct answer. Jyoti, you missed it. All ideas get a fair hearing. Power of the government should be cut down. That was the point. Yes. Yes. Done? Your option? Yes. The similarities. Very good. The similarities are too fundamental to be mere coincidence. It means it is so basic that it cannot be coincidence. This is the author's point. Yes. So this is our conclusion. And the rest of the things, just the premises. If you take out the conclusion, the point that author is trying to prove, then roughly we can say that whatever is the residue in the para, that is only the base foundation, yeah, in support of that. So nobody is doubtful. Please maintain this momentum and find the answer for third and fourth. Yes, Manvi, correct answer. Akriti, the two companies' claim is just the claim of the company. Author's version is the next sentence when he says he does not buy the claim of the companies. The companies are saying it's a coincidence. Author says it cannot be coincidence because it is there are too many similarities. And then he proves the operational, technical kind of similarities to strengthen his point. Both passage 3 and 4. Done? Done? Anji. So we discuss now. Passage 3 mein, which sentence you find the main point that author tries to prove? Didn't find? Is there anyone who has found any sentence here? Nahi hai. Very good. Because it is not persuasive. just a description of an experiment without writing any main point. So what happened in one set of experiment and then in the second set of experiment. So there is no conclusion here because this writing itself is not an argument. So passage 3 was just, a narrative. Passage 4, it has an argument. Yes, because author tries to prove something. Which point? Which sentence? The very last sentence. तो आपने तो इंडिकेटर देख लिया कि ये तो इंडिकेटर लगा हुआ है 10, so it must be conclusion because it is it right. But this particular conclusion is a repetition of what he has already said. He has already proved. So if you follow this sentence, that girl has read, however, this characteristic is actually quite common. He doesn't agree with the general assumption, and the general assumption is that many species adapt to their environment, but it is usually assumed that only the most highly evolved species can change their environment, can alter their environment. But author does not agree, and he says no, this characteristic is actually quite common. Even common species can also do it, not just highly evolved. So this is the author's conclusion. Then he proves this point with the example of this plankton. Plankton is a microorganism. With that example, he explained the whole process, how it changes the environment, and finally he summarizes, given plankton can do it. So that's why our first, this point is the conclusion of this para, and this one is an argument. Come again? वो इसलिए नहीं है कि देखो आप ये जो दिस पर्टिकुलर सेंटेंस इज सेइंग कि द व्हाट इज जनरली अज्यूम्ड कि ओनली मोस्ट हाईली इवॉल्व्ड स्पीशीज कैन चेंज द एनवायरनमेंट, बट ऑथर सेज कि आई डोंट अग्री. हाउएवर का मतलब क्या हुआ कि ही डजंट अग्री, एंड देन ही सेज, he explains his point. He says even very common species can also do this. So only word is the general understanding. An author does not agree with that. So he has proved with the help of plankton. So what we are doing, I gave you a very basic exercise, and you were supposed to identify whether the given paragraph is an argument or not. In case it's an argument, it will have two components, conclusion and premise. Conclusion is the point that author is trying to prove, and premise is the base, is the foundation which helps him to prove that point, right? This understanding is very important when you go to solve assumption questions. That's the reason I gave you a warm-up exercise for assumption. This was a warm-up exercise. Now, many assumption questions which are very basic type, they solely depend on this ability of the reader to identify the main point in the passage. So before I give the example, what we have discussed is argument and its two components, conclusion plus premise. There could be one, there could be n number of premises. And when we go to conclusion we understand this is the final summation, or we can say it's the main claim. Main claim that the author tries to prove. Main point, main claim, and premise is the facts or data or author's own observation or his experience used to prove the main claim. when we solve the question of assumption, in the introductory part, we need to understand that an assumption is, while writing his conclusion, his main point, the author has written the premises which we can see. However, he has not written certain premises. And these premises are also in support of the conclusion, or the assumption depends on it. Sorry, the conclusion also depends on it. So an assumption is like that when the author has written his conclusion, his conclusion depends on two parts: his written premises, the given reasons, plus it may also have certain assumptions. Assumptions are the author's belief, that he has believed in, what he has taken for granted, what he considers to be true, और वो उसको use करता है in order to prove his conclusion. So this is the correlation between a conclusion and the assumption, right? So an assumption is a hidden premise, invisible premise, which is not written there, but it is supporting the conclusion. And we all know that while writing an argument, some author is not going to write all the relevant aspects of his argument. Some of the aspects he writes and some of the aspects he does not mention. But from the reading of that argument, we can always arrive at those premises which he has not written, but he has considered to be true. For example, पॉइंट अभी सारे आपको दिखा दूंगा, अभी इंट्रोडक्टरी चलिए, प्लीज डोंट राइट एनीथिंग, वो कोरिलेशन लिख लीजिए, आई विल डिक्टेट दैट. बट फर्स्ट थिंग इज दिस, लुक एट दिस एग्जांपल. एन ऑथर सेज प्रिया इज एन आईएएस एस्पिरेंट, सो शी मस्ट बी हार्ड वर्किंग. अब एज I told you that you must have this habit to identify the main point. So from the indicators, so you get to know that this is the conclusion part. And how the author has arrived at this conclusion? On the basis of this fact or premise. The premise is that Priya is an IAS aspirant. We can call it a fact. And from this fact, he comes to the conclusion. What he has assumed, he has not written here. But we can always arrive at that. His assumption is this: all IAS aspirants are hardworking. It reveals what he believes in, right? So from the given part, we can always arrive at the hidden part, the hidden premise, because of this correlation. It's a hidden premise, as I said. Assumption is something which is assumed, supposed, and taken for granted, right? ये points आप देख सकते हैं इसके लिए. When someone says something, he may not put every aspect of his idea into words. That which is left unsaid or taken for granted is called an assumption, right? So whose assumption is this? Author's assumption. Most of the time it will be, when the question is that find out the most logical assumption, we are going to find out what this author must have believed in, his assumption, his belief part. Sometimes we may also come across, though very few questions, where the author says, what do you assume from this? So it means, again, from reading his argument, we can find out those statements which have a logical connection, which support the argument given there. So they can also qualify as an assumption. So assumption by and large is the author's belief, right? He has taken for granted. In a way, it supports the conclusion, or in another form, we can also have some statement as a valid assumption if they have logical connection with the passage. ठीक, ये जो दूसरा पॉइंट मैंने कहा अभी थोड़ी देर में क्लियर आपको हो जाएगा with some examples I will clarify. Let's come to this point कि when we are going to identify an assumption, our approach should be very calculated, structured. Otherwise, with the presence of 3 wrong options, the situation becomes tricky, you know. Otherwise, understanding assumption is not difficult. It is the 3 options, that set, that actually dithers us, you know, and फिर वो आप इधर उधर भाग जाते हैं. तो इसलिए आपको कैसे करना है solve? When the question of assumption is asked, always identify what he is trying to prove. Then identify what is the premise he has used for that. Yani from P to C या C to P जो भी है, कभी author will write his main point first sometimes and then he will write justification. At times he may write, I use this part, there is no fixed place for C. He may write premises at the beginning followed by conclusion, after the conclusion, or he may write it this way, that the premises are written there, then the conclusion is written. He may also write this way, that premise is written, then conclusion is proved, and then another premise is written, another reason is given. So whatever the setup is, our job is to identify C first, and then identify the P. And when we go from P to C, on this trajectory we will find assumption. अगर आप इस पे फोकस करेंगे, you can from P to C, when you go, there is a shadow in here. Let this shadow be formed. If this author believes in this, if this author has said this, and on that basis he says that, it means what he must have believed in. You will get some idea, some faint idea of the correct assumption. Then proceed to the option. कोई स्टूडेंट कई बार ऐसा गड़बड़ करते हैं, उनको सी की खबर नहीं है, क्या है पढ़ा उन्होंने, व्हाट इज द मेन पॉइंट ऑथर इज ट्राइंग टू प्रूव, दे डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, बट दे जंप टू द ऑप्शंस. व्हेन दे जंप टू द ऑप्शन, दे आर थ्रोन अराउंड, सस्पेंडेड, राइट. तो वो आपके पैर के नीचे जमीन रहना चाहिए, इसलिए एंटिसिपेशन ऑफ द आंसर इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट. So having said that, is there any point you want to ask? I am going to give you 3-4 questions in a row. Yes, correct answer. अभी कुछ स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड assumptions यूपीएससी समटाइम्स आस्क. अब जैसे मैंने आपको इन्फ्रेंस में दिखाया था स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस, सिमिलरली स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड assumptions विल कम टू स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस लेटर ऑन. पहले मैं आपको पैराग्राफ दिखा रहा हूँ. तो हियर ऑन पेज नंबर 21, आपके हार्ड कॉपी में मे बी 20, ये है पैराग्राफ, छोटा सा एक पैराग्राफ है. I want you to try passage number, everybody is there? It's given on page 20. So please tick passage 1, 2, 3, 4. ऐसा करिए, अभी 4 नहीं करिए, आप 3 करिए, 1, 2, 3 in 2 minutes. Online students, passage 1, 2, 3. Please follow the procedure, the correct SOP. That's very important. Seconds you have. Done? I gave you only 2 minutes because it was a very calculated process. Rajat, what is the answer for first? ये आपने according to me क्यों लगाया? अच्छा, authority. Yes. Do you agree with him? A is the answer. For the first passage, option A is the correct answer. Anyone doubtful? See? This is the author's conclusion. Professor Singh is a better teacher than Professor Bedi. Right? And he has come to this conclusion from this premise. Because it's written there. So ये premise है. Because of the student's rating. So according to the student's rating SR, the author comes to the conclusion that Professor Singh is a better teacher than Professor Bedi. Better teacher in logical reasoning always use mathematical symbols to simplify and for clarity. अब यहाँ से यहाँ आ गया. मैंने आपको बोला कि ये ऑथर ने क्या बिलीव किया है. You have to find the assumption from this trajectory. Whatever is going, whichever option is going to bridge the gap between the two, compatible, logically compatible with the given setup, that will be the best option. अब आइए C पे. C में आपने कहा better teacher has to be the one whose teaching methods are more engaging and relevant to the course. तो the question आपको मैं पूछता हूँ कि इसका डेटा आपको कहाँ से मिला? Because you should have the data in the para. The author का belief ऐसा कुछ maybe may not be, we don't know. He has not given any point about this. Neither we can say कि ये valid है, मतलब it's an assumption, or nor we can say that it cannot be correct. Maybe author will, but whatever is revealed from here, कि since student rating is a valid indicator, तभी तो वो कह रहा है कि ना, because they voted him as a better teacher, so he also says कि he is a better teacher. It means he believes in the student rating. And this. ठीक? So बाकी इसीलिए मैंने आपको बोला था कि the other options may deviate, may sway your attention, but you have to stick to this C and P. कहाँ पर है? Second question में क्या करेंगे आंसर? बताइए आपका आंसर क्या होगा? Which option? Which option you have chosen? Will you stick to it with this new understanding? Are you going to stick to B or going to change? B आपका लॉक कर दिया जाए. ऐसा वाला तो नहीं मत करिए. देखिए you can it's still open. Yes class. Which option for second passage? B. They are very close options ना. Very close options. तो अगर आप C और B में उसको decompose नहीं करोगे तो there would be problem. According to you, which is the C here? ये तो बहुत आसान है यहाँ पे क्योंकि indicator is given. Indicator is conclusion का indicator भी दिया हुआ. Therefore, if you are looking for an efficient typist to enter data into the new system, you need look no further. Means hire Rajaram. He is very suitable. Right? यही तो कह रहा है conclusion. Hire Rajaram. Why he needs to be hired? Why? Because he has 10 years of typing experience. This is the premise. 10 years of typing experience. No other experience is mentioned. Typing experience mentioned, तो हमें इसका particular रहना है. इसका and on that basis he says hire Rajaram. What he has believed in दोनों के बीच में एक कौन सा है जो connect करेगा दोनों को बिल्कुल सही से. तो आप देखो कि B maybe may not be वाला है क्योंकि इतनी डिटेल में वो नहीं गया कि he has been type of typing required for the new system. How do you know the type of typing required for the new system? Maybe हो सकता है. और आपको कभी मे बी नहीं, आपको मस्ट बी वाला चूज करना है जिसके लिए डेटा बिल्कुल सफिशिएंट. मैं हाँ जी न्यू बोला है बेटा, बट ये देखो ना, टाइप ऑफ टाइपिंग रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द न्यू सिस्टम इज आइडेंटिकल टू व्हाट राजाराम हैज बीन डूइंग. आई एम सेइंग कि मे बी हो सकता है, but type of typing required, he has not got into the types of typing. He is merely saying that it is the 10 years typing experience that he has. During that work, what kind of work he was doing, what kind of typing he was doing, not given. Right? So we have the best option. हमको वही choose करना है, इसीलिए बहुत close options examiner लिखेगा आपको. He has given very close options. Now option his profile is the best that the new employer is going to get. This is a prediction. How do we know? If he goes for a walk-in interview, invites all the profiles, his profile will be the best. He has simply said 10 years of typing, so please hire him. He is suitable. It means 10 years of practice ensures typing efficiency. He is the best option. Similarly, outstandingly fast है, accurate typist है. These details again maybe है. हो सकता है ऐसा हो. We can't deny it, but we don't have concrete evidence for this. We have the evidence for option A. So if someone tells you, if you are not feeling well, someone advises you that go to Dr. Singh because he has 20 years of experience and he is from AIIMS. आप उसके assumptions निकाल सकते हैं easily. It means this person who suggests you, what does he believe in? He believes that 20 years of experience or medical practice makes one a good doctor. And he has also added AIIMS. It means this person also believes in the, yes, in the merit of AIIMS, in the efficiency of the doctor because he belongs to this institution. So he believes in both 20 years and AIIMS as an institution. तो आपको ऑथर के आइडेंटिटी पे पहुंचना है. सी और पी को डिकम्पोज करेंगे तो सही पहुंचेंगे. थर्ड में बताइए क्या आंसर होगा. यस, सी एंड और क्या आंसर की चूज किया? ए बी. ए किसका आंसर है? ए बी. आई एम हैविंग माय फिंगर्स क्रॉस्ड. एनीबडी फॉर डी? Is there anyone for the last option, D? Rajat, you are hiding. ऑनलाइन में किसी का डी नहीं आया? हाँ, चलिए ये तो अच्छा है कि 3 तक लिमिट कर लिया तो कुछ तो चॉइस है. नहीं तो फिर ऐसा होता कि ई भी होता तो वो भी चूज कर लेते. तो हाउ मेनी हैव चोजन सी आंसर? कैन यू जस्टिफाई व्हाई सी? Yes, underdeveloped because societal pressure. आपको P यहाँ मिल रहा है because reason is given. So because of this societal pressure, SP, their driving skills, women and their driving skills remain underdeveloped. अब यही के बीच में से निकल आएगा. It means women tend to conform. Conform means to behave accordingly. आप इस setup में कह सकते हैं कि influenced, affected to societal pressure. Yes. They are affected by societal pressure. Otherwise, why their driving skill is underdeveloped? Because of the societal pressure. If they are not susceptible to societal pressure, how their driving skill is underdeveloped? It means we can't deny C. अब आते हैं कि A और B में क्या एलिमेंट है जिसने आपका अटेंशन ले लिया. वैसे A तो देखिए, ड्यूटीज ऑफ वुमेन इंक्लूड बीइंग ए मदर एंड वाइफ. आप इस आर्ग्यूमेंट में चले गए कि ड्यूटीज क्या क्या है. दिस नॉट द आर्ग्यूमेंट. The argument of the paragraph is not what are the duties of women. Mother and wife, मैं यहाँ पे फिर sister और mother-in-law सारा लिखना पड़ेगा. Anyway, so the duties of women is not the issue. Women will one day become, who chose B option? Very optimistic and very feminist in approach. Huh? You chose? One day become better drivers than men if they put in efforts. It is contradicting even the author's point. How dare you? Author क्या कहता है? Women are potentially as good as men. ठीक है? और आप कह रहे हैं और आगे भी निकल जाएंगे. आप तो और आगे चले गए, इसलिए मैंने बोला फेमिनिस्ट टाइप हो गया ये. तो अब what the option is saying, वेट करिए उसको पढ़ के let it just sink in and then proceed. तो ये ऐसा कोई पॉइंट इसमें नहीं था. तो यहाँ जब मोमेंट यू गो टू दिस, अच्छा नाउ द 3 क्वेश्चन आई गेव यू, आई वाज इंटेंडेड टू गिव यू 5-7 क्वेश्चंस बट देन आई स्टॉप. मुझे एक और पॉइंट आपको बताना है यहाँ पे. तो व्हाट वी हैव कम टू अग्री और अंडरस्टैंड that it is the author's assumption we are going to find most of the time. Hence, we have to follow strictly what is C and what is P, and then this invisible part A, we are going to find out. Invisible because it is not written by the author, right? That is supporting it. ये point आपने कर लिया है. Most of you are following it. But the moment you miss this, you leave the path and you don't bother to notice these two elements, the chances are you will be trapped somewhere. कोई ना कोई option होगा जो आपसे पकड़ लेगा आपको फटाक से. In the main idea based question, I told you that once you have read the passage, going to choose an answer, after choosing the option, go for the reverse for cross checking. Remember the reverse approach I told you? If this is the summary, then what kind of passage it gives projection to? If this is the main idea, crux or message, what kind of passage I can assume, I can imagine and then compare to. ये आपको वहां बताया था. अब यहां पर क्या करिए कि once you choose the option, use a particular rule. इसको हम कहते हैं क्रॉस चेक करने के लिए आंसर. We call it rule of negation. Rule of negation या denial. Rule of negation अप्लाई करेंगे तो आपको आंसर थोड़ा कंफर्म हो जाएगा, क्लियर हो जाएगा. कैसे करेंगे इसको? Suppose after reading the passage you think that B is the correct assumption. Whatever B says, you have to negate that. And if the B is affirmative, make it negative. Make it negative. If it is already negative, it will become affirmative. You have to negate A, whatever it says. अगर ये कहता है that suppose it says President Trump has lost it. तो आपको करना है has not lost it, right? Negate करना है. जो भी आपने ऑप्शन चूज किया उसको एक बार negate करके देखिए. If it is affirmative, make it negative, and then read with the given conclusion, with this given setup. If you find that after negating it, when you read it with the given argument, it seems to be contradicting the entire thing. It won't agree. The moment you get this feeling, it means this answer is the best answer, is the correct answer. What are the other possibilities? Other possibility ये भी हो सकती है कि you have negated another option C and then you have read it with the author's main point. After negation, when you read it, it does not affect the given argument. It's kind of disassociation there is, some irrelevance there is. तो इसका मतलब ये आंसर अच्छा नहीं है, ये ऑप्शन अच्छा नहीं है. Let's say there is an option D and after negating it, you have read it with the given argument, but you find that it fits in. It actually supports. It's compatible. It means this is totally wrong. ठीक, तो आप समझ अब करके देखते हैं क्वेश्चन में. जैसे आपका ये क्वेश्चन, ये वाला पैसेज नंबर 3. We have chosen option C. Women tend to conform to societal pressure. So we can negate it by saying that women don't. बाकी का सब रहने दीजिए, negate कर दिया इसको. If women don't tend to conform to societal pressure, then how they are influenced because of the societal pressure? It does not agree. It is simply what we can say diagonally opposite to this idea. Diagonally opposite. बिल्कुल उल्टा जा रहा है. बिल्कुल उल्टा जा रहा है इसका मतलब 100% यही होगा. अब आइए A ऑप्शन आपने चूज किया था. A duties of women include being a mother and wife. No, they don't. अच्छा, if they don't, duties of women don't include being a mother and wife, and you read it with the given main point, it does not seem to have any effect on it. Yeah, irrelevance दिख रहा है. इसका मतलब आप एक अलग जोन में जाकर के आंसर चूज कर लिया आपने, इंडिपेंडेंटली इस ऑप्शन को ले लिया कहीं से और कनेक्ट नहीं किया. तो आपका रूल ऑफ नेगेशन में इट डज नॉट affect. Option B, similarly you do, and then you find that no, it does not affect the given argument so much. Totally collapse कर दे, deflate कर दे उसको completely, तो एक ऐसा ऑप्शन जब आप negate करें and it is going to give a knockout punch to the given argument, diagonally opposite, then it is going to be the best option. ये है rule of negation. तो इसको आप कर सकते हो. ठीक है, पैसेज नंबर 2 में देखिए. Raja Ram, 10 years of practice does not ensure typing efficiency, does not ensure. Then how come he's saying since he has 10 years of experience, so hire him? Going opposite? it is the best option. So this rule of negation is one such thing that you can note down, and for another set of questions you can apply this after doing your C and P. ये क्रॉस चेक कर लीजिएगा. तो चलिए एक टूल और आ गया. अब देता हूं आपको मैं क्वेश्चंस थोड़ा सावधानी से. दिस टाइम आई एक्सपेक्ट दैट एवरीबडी विल गेट 100% आंसर्स करेक्ट, एंड ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन योर एबिलिटी टू आइडेंटिफाई द मेन पॉइंट. तो पैसेज नंबर 5 पहले मैं दे रहा हूं. 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. And you have 5 minutes. Done. Gave you 5 minutes for 3 passages. So online students, write your answers with the passage number. Passage number 5. So here we see that the conclusion of the passage is given in the last sentence, right? And remaining part is the P. The correct answer, class? How many have chosen D, Delhi? And C, anyone for C? Okay, D has been chosen. Any other option? A, B? A you have chosen? B? No. ठीक है, अभी तो correct answer is D. I'll get back to it. First I give you the answers of all 3. So passage 5 answer is D for Delhi. Passage 6 answer is B, Bombay. Here you have chosen A. कोई बात नहीं. We'll discuss it. I will give you the reasons after giving the answers. So passage number 6, the correct answer is B, Bombay. Passage number 7, the answer is option A. Chaliye, we discussed passage number 5, why option D is right and the other 2 options are incorrect. I told you to take a step at a time. जिनका गड़बड़ हो रहा आंसर वो they can also write the step. Identify C, step number 1. Step number 2, identify P, premise. Step number 3, now find out an option which is bridging the gap between P and C. तो पहला काम C को identify, दूसरा काम P, and then find out which option is going to combine, connect both, connecting the dots, bridging the gap. तो ऐसे आंसर करिए. अब आपने यहाँ पे कंक्लूजन देखा. Therefore, secretaries who smoke should be offered in closed offices. Why they should offered in closed offices? The reason is given here. Because there is a new smoking regulation according to which only those employees who have an enclosed office may smoke. Those who don't have enclosed offices, they cannot. Here another data is given, another fact. कि all employees with enclosed offices are at the professional level. उनके पास तो enclosed offices हैं, professional level. PL employees have enclosed offices, whereas the secretariat level officers don't have this enclosed offices. It means according to new regulation of smoking, they can't smoke because they don't have enclosed offices. फिर author conclude करता है, secretaries who smoke should be offered. उनको भी मिलना चाहिए भाई. तो he is talking about justice, equal treatment. What he believes in? The smoking regulation should allow all employees who smoke an equal opportunity to do so, regardless of an employee's job level. This is what he believes in. That's why he has come to that conclusion. Let's put A into this. A only says employees at the professional level who do not smoke should keep their enclosed offices. Who are you to tell this? Is that an assumption? Has the author entered into this domain of argument कि उनको रखना चाहिए नहीं रखना चाहिए? तो ये तो कोई, this is completely gross, off the track, बिल्कुल कोई मतलब नहीं इसका. आप निगेट करके देख लो कंक्लूजन से. Does it affect? No. आर्ग्यूमेंट तो किसी और के बारे में, that they should be given equal treatment. B, employees with enclosed offices should not smoke at their desk. नहीं करना चाहिए डेस्क पे, even though the new regulations permit them to do so. Should not smoke. Has the author gone into this kind of suggestions, advice, preaching? क्योंकि smoke नहीं करना चाहिए. It means it is again off the track. It is not between P and C. आपको ट्रेजेक्ट्री फॉलो करना है, इसके बाहर जो चीज है वो बेकार है आपके लिए, irrelevant है. Whatever is here is correct. Now see, good that nobody has chosen. It is simply contradicting the author's point. ये कहता है employees at the secretariat level who should be allowed to smoke at their desk even if they do not have, नहीं भी है तब भी उनको smoke करने दें. Author is not doing an advocacy for smoke of anyone. He is simply talking about in the context of equal treatment that they should be provided. So D was a very simple and direct answer. Question number 6 में, those who missed, can anybody tell me how many of you have got it correct? First B answer जिसने किया. According to you, which sentence is the conclusion here, main point? Last sentence. Just imagine how many working days are being lost. Author believes in this. Every year, up and down the gun through the national workforce. Working days are being lost. काम नहीं हो रहा है. ने ऐड कर लिया 2 minutes. किसमें जा रहा है? Shaving में. Right? So this is the conclusion. And it means this part, remaining part, is the premise. Right? So from P to C, what is the point that is going to connect? So those who have chosen other options, क्या आंसर चूज किया? ए आपने चूज किया. The national workforce consists mostly of men who shave. Mostly एक तो it comes with a rider, we have already discussed in the class. Mostly का मतलब है, देखिए ये जितने men हैं, let's say all these men who work, most of them shave, यानी more than 50% of them shave. Mostly मतलब more than 50%. अब इतना एक्यूरेट आपको कहां से मिलता है? His argument is not about the number of men. His argument is about that even if there is an individual who shaves, he is not working, right? And because of the time spent on his shaving, there is a loss to the employer. तो उसको वो इसमें नहीं जा रहा कि 30% लोग हैं, 50 है या 90 है या 80 है. इसलिए ये जो क्लेम है, ये दिस इज टोटली ऑफ द मार्क. It is not between P and C. P अगर किसी ने चूज किया, man shaves in the morning rather than in the evening. अब this morning and evening shaving time does not matter. The time spent on shaving is the point argument here. 2 minutes हो रहा है. अब चाहे वो morning में करता हो या evening में करता हो, does not matter. भाई कुछ employees maybe who are doing the night shift, they might be shaving in the evening. So the argument is not about morning or evening or weekdays or weekends. It is about that. Right? Men don't shave at the weekend when they probably would not be at work anyway. अरे यार जो shave करेगा वो तो almost every second day or alternate day at least he will shave. So it's not just the weekend and then it will work for the entire week. It's not like, otherwise they will be stubble. So dear, ये D भी out है. अब यहाँ पे if men didn't have to shave every morning, they would spend more time working instead. This is the hidden part because the working days are lost. He says if you add up all this time, then working days are lost. It means he believes अगर शेव नहीं कर रहे होते तो क्या कर रहे होते? काम कर रहे होते. ये उसका बिलीफ है. तो आपको डिगिंग करना पड़ता है assumption में, खोद के निकालना पड़ता है कि इसकी जड़ में क्या सोचा है जिससे ये ऐसा विचार उत्पन्न हुआ है. What is there in the root? The assumption is that root, is that foundation from which, wherein lies the genesis of this argument, what he believes in. So dear, passage number 7 में कितने लोगों का wrong हुआ ये? Passage 7, how many missed it? You, 3 of you. Which option you chose? D, Delhi. अब देखो ये हमारे स्टूडेंट जो हैं भाई, हमारे देखिए on the day when I told you, if you come across any extreme words, your senses must perk up. There's something fishy, there's something doubtful. आपने आराम से सोल पढ़ करके आपके कान पे, जिसको कहते हैं ना, जूं तक नहीं रहेंगी. यानी there was no how come human activity is the sole cause of increasing global temperature. आपने sole cause बना दिया, जबकि वो सीधा सीधा यहाँ कह रहा है कि scientists now agree that human activity is causing the Earth's temperature to rise. Is it saying कि only human activity is causing? So it means a word has been inserted and that too has a very extreme sense, and we did not mind that. Human activity is causing, but he's not saying कि only human activity is causing. Very subject matter अभी human activity है. Maybe there could be other causes as well, maybe some natural causes as well. But author has not attended the, not taken up this topic in a very broader way. He's simply focusing on human activity. So argument कहीं और था. Can anybody tell me where is the conclusion of this paragraph? Which sentence? Rajat? Unfortunately मुझे 2 ही 3 नाम याद हैं, तो मैं इन्हीं को पुकारते रहता हूँ. I will ये proper वो नहीं हुआ. Which sentence qualifies as a what is your name? श्रेया. श्रेया बताइए कौन सा सेंटेंस आपको लग रहा है कि ये ऑथर का आर्ग्यूमेंट यहाँ आके वो कुछ हैवी, देयर इज सम सेंटर ऑफ मास. वंडरफुल वंडरफुल. पहले सारे फैक्ट्स चल रहे हैं. देखिए फैक्ट्स फैक्ट्स फैक्ट्स, इसमें कोई ओपिनियन जैसा पॉइंट नहीं आ रहा है, राइट? तो साइंटिफिक डिबेट है, ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज कॉजिंग, सब बात बढ़िया है. फिर वो कहता है प्रेडिक्शंस वेरी, साइंटिस्ट अलग अलग प्रेडिक्शन दे रहे होंगे कि अर्थ का टेम्परेचर कितना राइज करेगा. But many global warming experts and many scientists believe that average global temperature will rise between 3 and 8 degree Fahrenheit. अच्छा 3 से 8 के बीच में करेंगे, बहुत सारे ये मानते हैं. ठीक है, ये सब बात भी आ गई. 3 to 8 degree will rise between 3 and 8 degree Fahrenheit during the next century. Such an increase, अब यहां से वो अपना पॉइंट बनाने लगता है कि this increase which is predicted by many scientists, that is 3 to 8 degree, will cause an alarming rise, and because of that there will be some serious repercussions as he has mentioned here. ये सारी बात कहने के बीच में एक खास बात है कि जब उसने ये सारे डेटा, what the scientists have said, on that basis he builds a point that this will cause displacement and all the havoc that will be unleashed. Scientific recommendation is authentic. Yes, he believes. Otherwise, why has he mentioned the repercussions on the basis of prediction of scientists? It's just like that. Hire Rajaram because he has 10 years of experience. The person who says that believes in that. 10 years enables. Similarly, the person who mentions that these will be the after effects in future, it means he believes the scientist's recommendation. ये मानता है कि ये सही है. अगर इसको डाउट होता इस recommendation पे of the scientist, he would not have said it. So let's say scientific recommendation is not authentic. If it is not authentic, then why are you so much worried? All useless, right? So A is the option. Let's say no to it. It's not the sole cause. How does it affect? It means the fundamental error done was you did not try to decompose the way you would, or maybe you did it wrongly. आपको C और P को आप identify करके चलोगे, most of the time your answer will be correct, because on that merit you will judge कि कौन सा best है. All right, so I have discussed this after this elaborated discussion. अब आते हैं कुछ और पहलू पे, assumption के. Guys, these kind of questions that I showed you, they have a one particular nature of assumption. Our UPSC, they ask this type. However, they all ask another type of assumptions also. By saying another type, I do not mean that there is another definition of assumption also that comes under the same domain, same assumption, but there is a different nature of question also. What we have noticed here, that in all these questions, there was one symmetrical thing, that everywhere the C and P, while making this argument main point and premise, the author has left his argument open, ajar. The argument is open for the assumption. बीच में कुछ उसने खुला छोड़ दिया. एक premise से he jumps to the conclusion, and where we find कि okay, what is the missing link? So that missing link we have supplied. कि अगर वो कहता है scientific recommendation, तो ये सब प्रभाव होंगे future में. The future will be so horrible. It means he believes scientific recommendation is authentic. If you put it in between, it connects. Similarly, with all the previous questions, we have the same structure. B to C, there is something open, and that we put in. जैसे आप अगर कहो कि if it rains well, there will be good crops. Kamala, you believe that rain helps, you know. So आपका ये जो belief हम निकाल ले रहे हैं, तो सब जगह open है. So this kind of assumption is not very difficult to be found. और इसको हम कहते हैं, इस तरह के क्वेश्चन को वी कैन से एज we have tried to find a missing link from the given argument, and this missing link was actually the core. It was playing a very playing a central role in the justification of the author's main point. Yes. So missing central link of the argument, and we found it on the basis of this process. इसमें रूल ऑफ नेगेशन लग जाता है कि अगर आप डिनाई करेंगे यू विल गेट द आंसर. You see, Swarna, I will take your doubt, dear, but after this ongoing topic, no? Otherwise there will be some gap. So I want you to first, if you can, jot down better. So this is the first type of question we have done, which is the missing link, which is playing a very crucial or central role in the justification of the conclusion, main point. और ये क्वेश्चन करने का आसान तरीका आपको मैंने बता दिया, सी और पी के बीच में कर लीजिए. And once you get the option, apply the rule of negation for the clarity. Negate करके देख लेंगे. Right? These 2 points I told you about this, please. तो पॉजिटिव हो जाएगा, what I told, not प्लस मैथमेटिक फॉर्मूला लगा देगा. ठीक है ना. अगर निगेटिव हुआ तो, अफर्मेटिव है तो निगेटिव, निगेटिव है तो वाइस वर्सा, अफर्मेटिव हो जाएगा वो. ठीक है. नाउ कमिंग टू, देयर आर अदर क्वेश्चंस वेयर the another aspect of assumption is more concern, has more concern, and that aspect is that it is not simply supplying the missing link. Maybe the argument itself has not left anything open. उसके बीच में, C और P के बीच में कोई ऐसा open gap नहीं है कि एक supplying link हो. The whole write up, the paragraph, it's comprehensive, complete in itself. So there we are supposed to find out all such correct assumptions which have a connection, where you can establish a connection, and they are always playing that role of supporting the conclusion, of supporting the argument. Yes. So sometimes we have that argument here, the assumption is playing the role of a very foundation, that without it the argument is not, complete. And here we have the second type, where we are simply finding those statements which have a logical connection and they are supporting the given argument. Right? तो ऐसा भी हो जाए. और ऐसे क्वेश्चन जो है, the second type, यूपीएससी मोस्टली गिव्स इन फॉर्म ऑफ मल्टीपल स्टेटमेंट्स. आप देखोगे ना, बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन assumption के ऐसे आते हैं कि they have written, find out the valid assumptions from the following statements, and the 5 statements are written. अब ऐसा तो नहीं कि 5 के 5 में या 3 में कोई मिसिंग लिंक सप्लाई करेगा. मिसिंग लिंक वाले मोस्टली 1 ऑप्शन वाले होते हैं. ये एक रफ आइडिया आई एम गिविंग यू, दैट दिस वे यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई. हाउएवर इट्स नॉट हार्ड एंड फास्ट. प्लीज डोंट टेक इट in an absolute term. Generally, this kind of multi-statements have this second type of nature, and they have the logical connection. They will be supporting this paragraph, this argument, any part of the paragraph. Maybe supporting an example, maybe from the word given here and its meaning and background we can relate. Maybe in the context given, described here, from that context we can relate something. So it's very wide, it's broader. ये कनेक्शन वाले हैं ऑप्शन. ठीक है. तो इसको मैं कहता हूं मिसिंग लिंक, और इसको हम कह सकते हैं दैट सप्लाइंग एडिशनल points, links that supports the given para or argument. Along with that, you can mention in the bracket that generally given in multi-statement form. Generally given in multi-statement. So I continue with the second one on the next page. I want you to write down everything because there is a huge gap between you and your exam. So if the notes are there, it will help you to understand in comprehensive way. So supplying additional links that support the given argument, and here we will try to establish the connection. They should have connection. They should have logical connection. Up here, these logical connections could be of different types. For example, a connection just related to the context, fitting in with the context. While talking about something, he has mentioned developing countries, and there is something related to the developing countries written in the option, and you find that a connection is there. The connection could be related to a word and its meaning. Here the connection could be related to even the given example. Examples or details. Or it could be just the central argument. It could be related to that as well. So, so the multi-statement questions may you need to be very careful. Always they write one or more than one statements of this nature that they give you confusion. They just, you know, play the role of a barrier. आपको halfway हो जाएगा, हाँ हो सकता है, नहीं हो सकता है, ये ऐसा वाला सीन आएगा. So I would suggest, and you know it quite well, that options may always look at option A, B, C, D. And the moment you come across a problem of two close cases, in the step number one, multiple options may always look at the options. Don't try to follow the ideal way of solving all the 5 statements, being sure, and then look at the option. It will be wastage of time. So there, look at the options. Suppose you have, after reading this 5 set, you are sure that one cannot be correct. Wherever one is given, dismiss those options. So ये तो आपको पता ही है. So I'm just reminding you that please play that thing also. Don't follow it in a very idealistic manner ki no, I should understand, I should be able to justify everything. Otherwise there will be wastage of time. 5 minute lag jayega, so what is the benefit? Come again? हाँ ऐसा भी आता है, वो 2 statements में generally given है, या ऐसा 1 only, 2 only. तो there are different types, but my point is that you first have a look at the option combinations. If you are, once you have solved the first statement, look at the options and decide. If you need, there is a need to go to second, only then. First thing is about that. Now, still they may make it difficult by writing, the correct options in more than one, by correct combination in more than one options. It is very much possible that they have not written one anywhere because they know that one is so simple. So फिर आपका ऐसा भी हो सकता है. So once you come across the 2 close options, what are the other aspects that you need to consider there? 2 close options, what are the other things? It means you should be able to understand the very characteristics of wrong options in assumptions. So I'm going to discuss them first, which will help you to eliminate the wrong options. By the way, this discussion is clear to everyone, logical connections. Let's now address another point, and that is traits of wrong options. Characteristics or traits of wrong option. To a single passage Akriti, if you go mathematically, you get 1.5 minute per question. It's a basic question, so I need to address it as of now. 90 seconds you get per question because 80 questions are there and 120 minutes you have. But you should not solve all the questions. There's no such need. You just need to do a safer number of questions so that you land in the safe zone. आपका काम इतना है, तो we advise the students to attempt only 40 questions to 50 questions. ये bracket रखिए. If you find that your accuracy is quite high, then just go for 40. There is no need to go for 50. 50 is the upper limit, because if you take stretches unnecessarily beyond 50, then there's a dilution of your attention. आपको अगर आप 60-70 क्वेश्चन करना चाहते हैं unnecessarily, so you are getting less time per question. So that's the reason you are going to solve 40 to 50. So as I said कि for 80 questions you have 120 minutes. तो आपका यहाँ पे टाइम आता है 1.5 minute per question. Since you are not going to solve all, it means you are going to get more time than more than 1.5. In case you are going to solve only 40 question, I can double it. So it means roughly you are going to get some 3 minutes अगर आप 40 कर रहे हैं, but your time is also lost in many things, while reading, deciding कि होगा नहीं होगा, answer filling, invigilator is there. तो मैं इसको माइनस करके मैं क्लासरूम में स्टूडेंट को बोलता हूँ just take it 2 minutes. That's why I was giving it 2 minutes. So it's clear to everyone. 2 minutes में आपको passage reading, evaluation of the options and choosing the correct option. Everything needs to be done, which is sufficient. I have observed in the classroom the students are very quick in giving the answers. मेरे से तेज करते हैं. मैंने देखा अपना टाइम कंपेयर करके. On an average, the students who are able to do fast, they are doing it faster than faculty. तो इसलिए आपने don't worry too much about that, so कि आपका टाइम ज़्यादा जाएगा. मैंने अब ये तो on the day one I told you there is an activity, read. Did you, and you did not share your reading speed with me? I'm still waiting. There was just one student who said कि सर मैंने reading test किया था and I got this speed. So actually there are plenty plenty of backlogs. Batch के ऊपर है, plenty of backlogs. अभी test not everybody has done. Pending questions of inferences and all. Again a very dismal picture you have given me. And reading speed test, and I don't know, and only God knows what about that word bank given at the end. Have you gone through that? I told you to go through that also, no? So there is somewhere, you have this thing कि अरे अगस्त ही तो चल रहा है, दिसंबर तो नहीं है ये, right? So you need to be in the fast track. Come out of your comfort zone. ये काम थोड़ा सा spend कर लिए, 1 hour is required, that's it, right? So I have given a very detailed answer Akriti. So 2 minutes का एक average लेके चलते हैं. चलिए, traits of wrong options. What are the characteristics of wrong option? I think it would be a little early. अगर मैं थोड़ा सा आपको कुछ question दिखा दूं of this second type of nature, it would be better, right? तो पहले मैं कुछ statement questions I show you. I'm first showing you some points to remember while evaluating assumptions which are very basic in nature. तो इसलिए कोई बोलने की जरूरत नहीं, मैं बस आपको ऐसे ये point number 1 आप देखते जाइए. Just read most of the things you know. In case of doubts, you can raise your hand, you can flag it. If it is given A even after B, usually it does not occur when B occurs. The person is believed so. Give an example. In spite of security, tight security, it means that tight security is a deterrent to robbery. That's what he has believed in. So valid assumption will be this, right? Usually A does not occur when B occurs. There are various ways of saying the thing. If the paragraph, if the author has written it is true that, and in the multi-statement one of the statement says it would be correct to say that, and the same thing is written there, it's also a valid assumption. However, very simple type. Please go through this. a connotative phrase which conveys the sense, covers the same sense. Connotation we discuss as the additional sense. So this is the additional sense. It's false that sometimes the examiner, instead of making and writing a totally new piece of information, they sometimes write a very simple assumptions of this form by using the language. Is the second clear? Third. Needs explanation. It says that if the, if you get, like in the given example, the increase in the improved number of educated women, right? So this very mentioning of the improved number, the increase in it, it means there are educated women in the society. Whatever the author is saying after this, he has gone into, let's say, some other dimension, but this very presence may be given in one of the multi-statements. So we will agree with that, right? So if it is said that the intelligent students or the hardworking students of the class were able to score these many marks in the recent test, it means there are intelligent students present in the class, in the batch. तो ये वही बात कर रहा है कि आपको जो adjectives मिले उससे आपको आइडिया लग जाता है कि it exists, or there is an absence, it means there is nothing. Now here, anyone doubtful? This says if adjectives attach unconditionally, sometimes a condition is given, right? And the condition is that the talkative, when Rekha becomes talkative, whenever she has her close friends. इसका मतलब in general she is not talkative, but in a certain condition, that is. तो अगर कोई condition नहीं है, then आप क्या करते हैं? So that is talkative nature of it. It means she is. The jubilant spectators, yes, it means they were happy. So it means a very simple assumption may be written in multi-statements from the word and the meaning, you get that. Now comes the point that I wanted to discuss with you. वो तो मैंने आपको point 5-4 तक basic दिखाया. अब ये आता है कि the whole point that I wrote here, that this connection could be wider, in the second type, supplying additional links में, these connections could be wider, context, word meaning, given examples and details, central argument, किसी से भी relate करके multi statements may be written there. So here we are where an author has given a certain point of view, and the generalization is given here about this whole point. It says hiccups in a smart city project can be overcome through strategic planning. So let's take this entire thing, hiccups in a smart city project, as A, can be overcome. It means here the author has given the solution to this problem. And this is the nature of the statement we get to. So this second part, the solution part, is the B. What are the different assumptions that we can make which are valid, right? And I hope you will agree with all these statements given here, valid assumptions. A needs improvement. Yani this particular problem, hiccups are barriers, small issues. Smart city project, they need improvement, yes. Otherwise, why has he suggested solution? अगर आप कहते हैं they don't need, then सीधे ये deflate कर जाता है. So his very suggestion means that the negative aspect of A are undesirable. Yes, that's the reason some solution is given, and that's the reason hiccup word is used here as a negative word. It means it's a barrier and it's undesirable. B will improve A. Yes, the author strongly believes in this. Otherwise, why has he given the suggestion in the solution? तो आपने देखा एग्जामिनर ऐसे ही बैठ करके उसके सारे स्पेक्ट्रम निकालेगा कि ओके दिस स्टेटमेंट से आई कैन मेक दिस these valid assumptions I can make by using the word and meaning, by using the context, by using the very argument structure and the hidden thing. So we have to just, all three are correct? Yes. Now fourth one, the advantages of adopting B far outweigh the disadvantages of not adopting it. Yes, you have to think according to the author. His very suggestion and it means it's valid. तो आपने देखा एक स्टेटमेंट से 4 assumption बना लिए. It means जब भी एग्जामिनर को वाइडर स्कैन पे कैनवस पे ले जाना होता है, he goes for this kind of contextual connection. Now, if the advertisements, notices and appeals are given, ये एक specific case है. But before this case, I want you to try some questions. तो चलिए बुकलेट पे, and here the statements given here page number 18. Each statement is followed by 2 possible assumptions. Your job is to find out the logical assumption, the correct assumption. So you are supposed to attempt all the 5 statements. या ऐसा पैराग्राफ भी करना है, तो अभी आप 2 कर लीजिए. Just solve 2, then we'll go to the paragraph. Solve these 2 statements. Statement 1 and 2. True? Yes. The first statement, देखिए it's already written ABCD कैसे चूज करना है आपको. If it is only 1, A, B and C for both and D for neither. So what is your answer for first? A, D मतलब neither. अभी कहता है money is the root cause of all the problems. सारी problems की जड़ जो है वो money है. अच्छा, and you already know this thumb rule that we can never question the author. Whatever his idea is his idea, and we are going to find the assumption for him. Right? तो आप ये नहीं कह सकते हो कि नहीं कुछ प्रॉब्लम ऐसी भी है जिसमें मनी नहीं है, और फिर आप हिस्ट्री से कुछ उठा के लाए कि नहीं because of the property, because of the women, because of this. So we are not going to do that. We are not allowed, in fact. So this is the argument. This is your boundary. Root cause, it means every problem is caused by something. Yes, because money is the root cause of all the problems. It means there is a cause behind all the problems, and that cause is mentioned here. Every problem is caused by something is correct. We can relate with it, and there are always problems. About this frequency nothing has been said. Behind every problem there is a cause. Money is the root cause, but there are always problems. We can't say, maybe, may not be. So A is the answer. For second one, Rohit ने क्या बोला? If it is easy to become an engineer, he does not want to be an engineer. So Rohit aspires to be a professional. Yes. So first is wrong. We don't know whether he wants to be professional or not. We don't have data. But Rohit desires to achieve a thing which is hard earned. Yes, because he has said, if it is easy, I don't want to become an engineer. So the answer should be B. Only second is the valid assumption. तो जितने तार या स्पेक्ट्रम निकल रहे हैं उस स्टेटमेंट्स है, आपको बस उसको सही सही मेजर करना है. तो रिमेनिंग क्वेश्चंस ऑफ अजम्पशन, स्टेटमेंट बेस्ड अजम्पशन यू विल ट्राई एट होम. मैं आपको पहले कुछ ट्रेट्स डिस्कस कर लेता हूँ, देन विल टेक सम सीसैट क्वेश्चंस. तो ट्रेट्स ऑफ रॉन्ग ऑप्शंस फॉर अजम्पशंस. While dealing with the RC passages, I told you that it's not just your reading. So you should be good at reading. That should be in one place, understanding the author in depth. Second thing is that ability to understand the question, and the third thing is ability to identify the wrong options. You can map the wrong options. So once you work on all these three and you are equipped, you are better to deal with this section. That's why with every question I have been discussing traits of wrong option. तो पहला ट्रेट ये देखिए, इफ यू आर गिवन, आई फर्स्ट गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. इफ यू आर गिवन दैट स्मॉल इज ब्यूटीफुल, if this statement is given, from this statement you get to know this author's belief. He believes that small is beautiful. अब अगर आपको ये कहा जाए कि इसके बेसिस पे एक assumption ड्रॉ किया गया, and that assumption says small, yeah, let's say some small. Please don't mind the language. ये कभी कभी ये abstract ऐसी इसी फॉर्म में थोड़ा weird उसमें रहती. तो some small is not beautiful. Some, few, all, कुछ भी लिखा हुआ है ऐसा, right? This is wrong. Why wrong? Because this one simply contradicts the given information, the given point. So one of the traits wrong options का होगा कि your assumption should never contradict the author's point, right? तो अगर ये contradictory है nature में, then it's always wrong. Opposite जा रहा है, always wrong. Remember now the passage which talks about कि new regulation of smoking has come in, and according to which some people who do not have enclosed offices won't be able to smoke. And then he tells us कि professional level or ये level के, one of the options says कि those who do not have enclosed offices, they should smoke in open at their desk. It was contradicting the author's given conclusion, because he says that they should be given enclosed offices. He is not asking them to become revolutionary and should start smoking in the. तो contradictory तो कभी नहीं होगा जो 180 डिग्री दूर जा रहा है. अब देखिए दूसरा ऑप्शन कहता है, दूसरा small is also expensive. We find that we cannot choose this because we have no data whatsoever for this statement. It means that in assumptions, the data inadequate thing will also be a case. Data inadequate cases are again very common. यानी कोई भी ऐसा पॉइंट, डेटा इनएडिक्वेट से व्हाट डू आई मीन, कि कोई भी ऐसा पॉइंट जो यहाँ पे इन द ऑप्शंस इज गिवन व्हिच इज irrelevant टू द गिवन पॉइंट. अब यहाँ पे बात है ब्यूटी की और ये बात ला रहा है एक्सपेंसिव. तो irrelevant हो, न्यूट्रल हो, irrelevant न्यूट्रल आप कह सकते हैं. न्यूट्रल मतलब इससे कुछ लेना देना नहीं है आर्ग्यूमेंट का. फॉर द सेंस ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट आई एम सेइंग ही इज जस्ट न्यूट्रल. Neutral means the author is against something and the statement given is just the neutral thing. So we do not have the data. So it's just an example to give you what is the data inadequate. Suppose third statement is given as small is beautiful. Up now you notice that it is the word to word copy of the given statement. Again, a word to word copy will be wrong. बिकॉज ये जो केस इन्फ्रेंस में था वही यहाँ पे भी इन्फ्रेंस में भी I told you कि the third type which we call as verbatim, and verbatim में word to word copy, verbatim here means word to word. इसको कभी कंफ्यूज नहीं होंगे कि perspective has been explained, वो तो valid हो जाएगा. In other words, the idea has been mentioned, what the author wanted to convey, that will be acceptable. But just word to word copy won't be acceptable. That's not an assumption, that's a repetition. ठीक है. तो what I mean, ये जो आपको यहाँ पे दिखाया था, देखिए अब यहाँ पे author has said it is true that, अब ये लिखा हुआ A therefore B, तो A leads to B. अब this leads to and therefore are so close that at times you may confuse ki whether it's a repetition or a valid assumption. So it's a valid assumption because it is representing this idea in another form. This is the perspective explanation. So representation in other form is acceptable as an assumption. However, just the repetition as A therefore B और यहाँ लिखा हो A therefore B, that would be dismissed. Same cases here. This is the perspective explanation. The connotative sense has been given, right? So the third is clear to you. The copy, word to word copy will be wrong. So three we have discussed: contradictory, data inadequate, verbatim. एक जो evergreen है, वो है आपका क्या? अगर इसने बोला only small is beautiful, या बोल दिया small is the most beautiful. अब आपने देखा extreme words की entry होने लगी, for which we don't have the data. Only or most or all or always. So the number 4, which is evergreen, present everywhere, वो है extreme notions. And along with extreme notions, I will always highlight, क्या मैं बोलता हूँ आपको यहाँ पे, mostly wrong. Always wrong आप इसको नहीं ले सकते. Otherwise UPSC won't give you any extreme word in the option. If it can be accommodated according to the given thought, yes. So otherwise, those students who in a hurry just look for the extreme words and don't read the options, they are prone to commit an error. क्योंकि कई बार उनका सही हो गया आंसर because of this practice, so they believe in कि ये जब आपको याद है previous question हमने एक inference में किया था, the option says the computer is not completely safe. अगर कोई सिर्फ completely को देख के आंसर को dismiss कर देता है, his answer is incorrect. So you have to look in the context. So that's why mostly wrong ये I repeat, and so number 4. Up here, so in assumptions you have to look at these aspects and then as a whole you will proceed. अब जो logical connections बनते हैं वो सारे आपने देख लिए. Data should be adequate for them and it should have the valid connections. Let's go to some TSAT questions. Lesson number 1 on page number 22, TSAT. ठीक कर लोगे अभी. I give you more questions. Passage 1, passage 2, passage 4, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7. Online students, these 5 passages, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, I have given you 5 passages. How much time? Maximum 10 minutes. Okay, maximum 10 minutes. And before yes, so चलिए. When I remember your doubt is still pending. Once we have done these five, come back. Not carrying the hard copy. It's very important for these kind of questions. Where multi statements, mein na, you have to go back and forth. Done? You still have time. Those who are doing the last one can continue. Those who have already done all can cross check. Data adequate, inadequate is the most important game here, because rest of the things you can identify quickly. If it is going against the passage, contradicting the passage, very easy to notice, can eliminate. If it is repetition of the same thing, word to word copy, very easy to notice. However, making some claims where you are halfway down, maybe, may not be, where it comes from, the data issue thing is the big thing. And so you need to hit the spot और फिर एनालाइज करिए उसको. Online students, none of you have written the answers yet. Still doing? Start from passage number 1. First, we'll give you the answer. Later on, we will discuss your doubts. So, the first passage, the answer should be option A. Passage 1, answer A. Second, should be B. Passage 4, answer should be D. Fifth one, again D. D. Passage 7, 3 statements given. B. Only 3. These are the answers. Now, first, how many of you got all correct? Job. 1 students online. Is there anyone who has got all correct? 4 correct, 1 wrong. 4 correct. Try to be in this group. है ना? एक मिस हो गया, अलग बात है. 2 wrong, 3 correct. Okay. ठीक है भाई, इससे नीचे नहीं जाना. So 3 must be correct. It's a beginning phase. Let's address the doubts. In the passage number 1, so simultaneously, you should notice that how the examiner writes his statements after reading the passage. These statements can be affirmed or can be dismissed by going to a relevant part in the passage. So make it a habit that don't try to solve all the statements just based on single reading. मैंने सब समझ लिया. It's not main idea. Main idea में कई बार ये होता है कि in depth you have understood the things. Okay, fine, need not to go back. ऐसा हो सकता है. But in the multi statements, this each statement saying something else, so they can be dismissed or can be accepted by reading the relevant part. तो इसलिए थोड़ा सा उसके लिए समय ज़्यादा बचाइए. और मैं I would suggest you that Here you can do one thing, that before reading the passage, you can read these statements, which are given as a possible assumption. Sometimes it helps. अब देख लीजिए what works in your case. So the first case is correct. Strategy of conservation of wildlife by relocating them from one protected area to another is not often successful. That's the reason I gave you the numerical value of these words. Often का मतलब है zero नहीं है, minimum one case is given is still acceptable. Even if one case, one frequency is given, also acceptable. तो ये last में often successful. Yes, we can see the case of this tiger from Pench to Panna, and then it came back. So the very objective was lost. You know, so that's the reason. First is तो correct. यहाँ ये कभी भी अगर ये बोलता is not always successful, you know the answer. You don't have the case. So the first is valid, can be assumed, and second is India does not have suitable legislation. Question is, how do we know India does not have? Who knows, India may have, but the implementation is not good. And remember my point with you, जो मैंने आपको बोला था कि law के से related cases में, if the situation is not good, it will write this kind of statements, right? So this is dismissed because we don't have the data. DI case, data inadequate case हो गया ये, for the suitable legislation है कि नहीं है. Second passage, answer is B. Anyone doubtful? Only second statement is correct. Any doubts? Just the second one. Where does it come from? It's a new environment now, so there needs to be change. So authors will agree with this. Rest of the statements have some claims which are out of the purview of this passage. Essentially due to its faulty education system, India's status as a developing country we don't have. It may be, may not be. So maybe, may not be should not be chosen. Maybe, may not be तभी choose किया जाएगा when it is present in the statement itself. But the statement is very certain here. And same goes with the third one. How do we know good number of Indians go to some developed countries for the same reason? And then it also says one thing. The educational system there are a perfect reflection. Actually, the detail of the education system in developed countries is not given here. In India, it is faulty, retrograded. But in developed countries, it is perfect reflection. We don't have data. तो आपने सही किया इस क्वेश्चन में. ये तो easy दो क्वेश्चन आपको, frankly speaking, easy था. Fourth is a question where you need to search for the data. So if you have this knack, this natural habit to look for the data and then accept the statement, you will fill through. कितने लोगों का wrong word here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 इनका wrong हो गया, ठीक है? And some of the online students might have missed it. So this claim, oil producing countries are does not represent probability. If is MR and the similarly rest of the words, there is just convey the certainty कि है, एक reason है. Are one of the reasons for high food prices. अब the high food prices is no doubt mentioned there. The reason author says here skyrocketing food prices on a variety of factors, it depends, including high fuel prices. हमारा relevant part इस statement के लिए बस यही है. Examiner ने इसका ताना बाना जो बुना है, he has yawned a story, cooked up this story from this part only, which means we need to hit it and then find out. It says high fuel prices. Only the fuel prices are given here. Who hiked it? The government or actually the oil producing countries? Both are possible. Sometimes it happens that the oil producing countries have not hiked, but the government has, applied some high taxes on it, VAT and, duty surcharges and all that. Still the price may be high. So we do not know the exact that who is the factor behind it. He has only mentioned high fuel. तो ये एक देखिए data inadequate case है. तो जितने लोगों ने चूज किया उसको देख लेंगे. अच्छा, वन ऑफ द रीजंस में कई बार स्टूडेंट को लगता है हाँ वन ऑफ कह रहा है ना, वो तो नहीं कह रहा है कि इट इज द सोल रीजन. Still it is saying are one of the reasons. It means among the reasons it is present there. So the question is that how do you know it is there? So it is there or not, we don't know. Second, if there is a food crisis in the world near future, it will be in the emerging economy. देखो कभी भी don't use your your understanding on the issue and then go be independent of the passage. और फिर आप अपने आप ही सब चीज कनेक्ट करने लगे, फिर तो आप इन्फ्लुएंसेस निकालने लगेंगे. तो आपको you are not allowed to do that. If there is a food crisis in the world, it will be in the emerging economies. First of all, the author is not simply talking about emerging economies, but he's talking about the most populous emerging economies. So point number one is he's talking a specific group of emerging economies that's most populous. And then he talks about something in a probable sense. He's saying that in the most populous countries, because of this high consumption, it is poised to create food crisis. Yani, it is going to create food crisis. There's a possibility. Instead of saying this thing, so we don't have, again, कोई question, कोई student सोचे अगर logic लगाया नहीं से इसकी सर अगर world में है तो यहाँ भी होगा, हाँ हो सकता है. इसलिए ये question का wrong क्यों है? क्योंकि ये maybe है and we are not supposed to choose maybe. हो सकता है ऐसा हो सकता नहीं हो. We don't have any base. So dear, that's why second is also left out. So data inadequate cases is the most challenging thing and have to be mindful of that. Passage 5, again, neither is the answer. And why is it so? Here this needs your ability to notice the fine print. Fine print, कोई भी कहानी, कोई word, कोई एक जगह पे है, इसको मिस नहीं करिए. अब देख, D, neither one not. D is the answer. I wrote D. 5D I wrote. You are in the club of 5. मुबारक हो, promotion हुआ आपका. So passage number 5 पे देखिए. So dear, it talks about the central message of a modern development economics. यानी it is talking about a certain theory. और इस theory का message क्या है? Importance of income growth, by which it is meant by the growth of GDP. In this theory, the author is only telling us the theory part. ये theory क्या है? इस theory का relation GDP से कैसा? And one more point we have, he says, today GDP has assumed such a significant place in the development lexicon. Lexicon is dictionary. So he is only talking about the theoretical aspect of this modern development economics, जहाँ पे growth का मतलब GDP growth. So choosing this option that rising GDP is essential for a country to be developed country. Essential is a very strong word, which means that without rising GDP, no country can become a developed country without rising. It makes it absolute necessity. We don't have data for this. कल को किसी को तेल के खदान मिल गए अचानक, पीछे तो जीडीपी डाउन थी, अचानक से वो बड़ा बन गया अमीर, राइट? तो the point is that mind this word, it makes it absolute necessity. We don't know because the author has only told us the theory part. He is not saying कि whatever this theory is saying is practically true 100%. अगर वो कहेगा तब तो मान लेंगे कि 10% this theory is true, practical way में. So dear, this is why extreme में जा रहा है. Rising GDP guarantees a reasonable distribution of income to all households. We won't get any data for this. So the answer is. So in these last two questions, we find that here there were some fine print. ज़्यादा बारीक काम, embroidery यहाँ थोड़ी सी और वो हो गई. लेकिन previous first and second passage, it was very wide and open, visible. तो इसमें दो में आपने कर लिया. Now the last passage 7. You see, it is, before I discuss this, the answer, it's very important for assumption question that a student must know, reader must know which way the wind is blowing. इसकी खबर ही नहीं कि हवा किधर चल रही है, तो फिर आप नहीं निकाल पाएंगे आंसर. हवा का चलने का मतलब है you must know what the author is thinking, what is his stand, his point of view, because all the statements to be valid assumption, they need to go with the wind. If they are irrelevant, if they are contradicting, they cannot be assumption. So jitne bhi thought oriented passages you read, thought oriented, where the author has an opinion, there you must know the author's opinion. What is his stand? जैसे अगर author, let's say for example, he's rightist and he has written that theory, so we must know that which of the options are propagating with that. If he is leftist, we must know. If he is socialist, we must know. So हमें opinion oriented passage में we must know the author's opinion and his stand. This passage is very clearly talking about that. Now, here in this passage, rising GDP, author has not said whether this theory is a superb theory, is a bogus theory. He is simply telling us the facts. There's a theory, what does it say? What I have to say as an author, he has said nothing. He has not given his peace of mind. So this is a kind of factual, description of something. There the statements, if they are more opinion oriented, chances are they will be incorrect because they don't have data backup. क्योंकि ये देखो ये टैग लगा रहा है राइजिंग जीडीपी तो मस्ट है, एसेंशियल है, वी डोंट हैव द डेटा, क्योंकि उसने नहीं बोला कि दिस थ्योरी इज द सुपर्ब इज. तो आपको ये while reading the passage always keep this thing on mind, whether it's an opinion oriented, opinion based, or it is just a factual description. अब ये passage एक opinion. Is the author for the democracy playing a welfare state role? Does he agree with this कि democracy should play this welfare role, or he does not believe in this? He agrees. Because later on you notice the premises given by him in support of his thought, they reveal that he is making an effort to establish the point that democracy needs to be welfare state. So who will take care of those who lag behind, the very poor? देखो ना, यहाँ तो question पूछा neutral है. Here the question is being asked. Then he say, why cannot mass welfare be left entirely? Why it cannot be left entirely? Once we read this, we get to know okay, 100% it cannot be left. He has given the justification. Some people never get the opportunity. So they are simply too poor, too handicapped, or skilled one. And then he gives another point, by creating jobs, markets may be able to help even unskilled people, but capitalism, that means market. Capitalism has always witnessed burst of unemployment. It means market won't be able to sort out this issue completely. Hence, the role of the welfare state needs to be intact. So, ये clear? Opinion oriented है, we should always know. So, dear, any doubts here? 3 statements हैं, answer आपको. Government's programs are needed. Yes, we get to know. Which option you chose? C only. वो ठीक है आपने choose किया, but while reading, I want you to reread that after some time and then. So, dear, 1 and 2 are wrong. Anyone doubtful? Achha, now. So, these were the 5 passages. Before we proceed, आपको कुछ तो here in these type of questions, now I show you what I mentioned earlier, that अब आपको ये आसान लगेगा. The first type which we started, finding the missing link, is an easy job. Why? Because it's very calculated. If you know the steps, calculations, you will arrive at the right answer. अगर आप miss कर रहे हैं तो it is your fault, completely your fault. That's the reason UPSC does not give many questions on this pattern. They rather focus on applying additional links. And these additional links should always have a logical connection with the passage. And these connections are very wide on this whole canvas. इसी से भी relate कर सकता है. Right? So this second type of assumption is UPSC prefers. However, in the last 2 years, for the past 2 years, we have noticed it थोड़ा सा generous हो गया UPSC. Instead of giving you multi-statement in assumptions, we have noticed this year also that they have given either 2 statements, not 4-5 statements, because 4-5 statements need more time to evaluate the things. Or they have given single options. And one more thing to call them generous is that a small paragraph, and there are 2 questions based on this. Like this year there were 16 paragraphs, and out of them 13 have 2 questions. एक मेन आइडिया, एक assumption, या एक मेन आइडिया, एक inference, या एक corollary, एक मेन आइडिया. तो अच्छी बात है, आप इवेलुएट अच्छे से कर लेते हैं, टाइम कम खर्च होता है, आपने ठीक ठाक कर लिया तो एक ही क्वेश्चन पैराग्राफ से 5 नंबर आ गए, यू स्कोर 5 marks. So but take the assumption questions very seriously. They might change the pattern, because in the year 2019, in the year 2020, 2021 also, they gave many passages. जैसे 1-2 का फर्क होता था, अगर 25 passages are 26 questions. Secondly, they gave multi-statements, especially in 2019 and 2020, almost all difficult questions have 4-5 statements, or at least 3 statements for assumption, multi-statements. It means more, you have to spend time. So assumption ka basics we have discussed today. We have done reasonable number of questions. There's one student who has doubt in it, so a couple of minutes are left, so I need to address. You have been waiting for long. आपका doubt था, I remember, from the non-CSAT section and scientist वाला passage था. So the student who said, sir, here scientific recommendation is authentic is chosen as correct answer, where the author says the predictions vary. Dear, this statement is talking something else. It says maybe different scientists have different predictions. So the range is given, yani from minimum 3 to 8. This is given here. So all those whose prediction vary, many of them say that Earth temperature will rise from 3 to 8. Maybe some Russian scientists are saying 4 degree, Indian scientists may be saying 5. So ऐसा करके बता. So it has nothing to do with this statement, right? So author's point is, which is a build up on this statement, that such an increase would create problem. This 3 to 8 degree Fahrenheit would create problem, and then he explains the problem. And that is the effect part. This effect is described here. So from this prediction to this effect, we get to know, yes, it is. Author believes in the scientific recommendation. Rest of the options are incorrect. In case you were doubtful with this option C, some global warming experts predict a greater than 8 degree. We don't have any data for this. Maybe, because many believe in this bracket. Whosoever is left out, maybe they believe more than 8, or who knows, maybe all of them, rest of them believe in less than 3. So we have been not given any point about this. So C is data inadequate case. Similarly, B, it only talks about individuals. When the author says that such an increase would cause this kind of evoke, individuals, they have a very limited role to contain when it comes to contain the global temperature rise, Earth's temperature rise. Please understand, the governments, the industries, they have a bigger role to play. So ये अगर अपनी lifestyle में some changes he introduced, is still, what kind of effect it will have on this big thing? If the industries continue to pollute the air in the same manner, how can we say individuals will not become more aware of the steps they can take to reduce the emissions of greenhouse gases? नहीं, यहाँ से मेंशन है, थोड़ा सा लॉजिकल कनेक्शन बन रहा है कि वो कहता है ये जो इंक्रीज है, बिकॉज इनका प्रेडिक्शन है, द प्रेडिक्शन इज अबाउट फ्यूचर एंड दिस प्रेडिक्शन इज अबाउट द नेक्स्ट सेंचुरी, centers along the world. This is about the next century that causing the Earth's temperature to rise. Next century. This is given here. I was searching for this word. It's about the next century. So on the basis of this increase in next century, let's say next century is here in the future, and here author is talking about now, and this is your next century. Author says here you will have all these problems, all these effects will take place here. It means he believes that this trend will continue in the same way. Nobody will be able to contain it. तभी तो ये effect होगा. तो लेकिन यहाँ individual का role बहुत ही small है. So that's why this alone is not sufficient to say this. That's why it's not the best assumption. इससे अगर मतलब ये है कि अगर हम एक क्लास, नोटिस दिस पॉइंट, if we want to make another correct assumption apart from A, we can make another assumption, and we can make that assumption that the affairs will continue in the same manner. In the governments and the industries and the individuals, they all will continue, and or they won't be able to contain the Earth's temperature rise. ये भी उसका assumption है, क्योंकि वो कहता है next century में ये सब हो जाएगा. इसका मतलब he believes that the situation won't change. So that is the explanation. Now class, your time is, जो मैं तो ज़्यादा ही समय ले लिया आपका मैंने. तो कल की क्लास में doubts will be discussed of remaining question, and those who could not do this, please spare an hour today. Go through this booklet, word list, reading speed भी measure करिए और सारे question भी करके, ठीक है? See you tomorrow. And please be regular. So Akriti, your doubts and all the remaining doubts will be addressed in tomorrow's class. Corollary implement. And online students, remaining question must be done. Pending work नहीं रहने दीजिए. RC comes through practice. If there is any doubt, kindly mention it.